Hello, friends, and a very warm welcome to the 1180th episode of KK Med Talk. And every Wednesday, we've been talking about Barrow buddies, buddies who help us lose weight, be it from the world of nutrition, be it from the world of exercise. And today, we have an extra special session on yoga, and we have a very special guest with us. So, the topic of today would be on yoga and obesity. And I welcome and I welcome our very special guest today who's
I don't know, but it might just come quickly. 2 minutes. Oh, hello, ma'am. Sir is coming in a while, ma'am. I think there
Yeah,
is a
okay.
network
I
issue.
think some network issue.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just checking.
Okay.
right. And today we welcome a very special guest of ours who's going to talk to us about yoga and obesity. A warm welcome to you, Radhika, for joining us, and thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule to talk to us and our audience who've joined from across India and even beyond to listen to you today and talk to you about yoga. So before we start, Radhika, how would you like to start this session?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Nitin. That's great. And thank you so much for giving me this platform to share a bit of whatever I've learned, bit of my knowledge. It's not much, but little bit whatever I know. And I would like to start with the peace chant, and then we can speak about the topic. So
Love.
everybody
Yeah.
can just sit upright and just close your eyes and just listen to the chant. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः So the chant is just to say that whatever we speak here, whatever energy we create, it's beneficial for all of us together. So that is the meaning of the chant. It has no specific religious connotation. So that is what. Yes.
Thank you so much for starting with that very powerful note. I think our audience is already enthralled. We are getting rolling comments for you in our chat, but then let's hold on that and let's just initially hear about a little bit about your background in yoga science, how you got into it, and what you know about yoga, how you've learned it over the years.
Yeah. So I started my journey of yoga in 95. So I was going through a personal traumatic time at that period. I just lost my father and it was very traumatic. And then I got in touch with the practice of yoga. I learned it from a home tutor. He was coming home in Delhi. And that's where my journey started. And then I was very consistent with the practice for a couple of years. And then life took on. And then in 2011, I did my yoga teacher training from Yoga Life Foundation, which is a school based out of India, and I did it in Dharamshala, Himachal Pradesh. And from then on, I've been learning continuously yoga under different schools and different teachers, and especially under KYM, which is Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram in Chennai. So I've learned from teachers from there, and it's an amazing school. And the founder was Sri Krishnamacharya, whom I consider as my guru, my teacher, though I never had the good fortune to meet him in person. But yes, so from then on, I've been learning and teaching yoga from 2011 till now.
Thank you so much. And that's a very long time, 15 years of experience.
Yeah.
I think our audience is really blessed to have that encapsulated in the next 30 minutes that we have with you. So I think let's begin the discussion right away. Our topic is on yoga and obesity. But before we jump into the field of obesity, Radhika, what would you say how yoga contributes to well being of an individual?
Yes, so when we say well being, we are generally, in a broad sense, we speak about the health and happiness of a person. And yoga plays a major role in this. Yoga comes to our aid in promoting our health by the practice of yoga using the different asanas, different techniques of pranayam. We can optimize our health. Yoga, the asanas work on the different organs. It helps reduce different ailments, like, just general issues which we have, like blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid, and various other issues, like even arthritis, and you have these joint issues. So, yoga really helps to counter these ailments, to bring them down, the symptoms. If not 100% cure it, does help manage and reduce the effects of these ailments. So, and of course, for the mental well-being, the pranayam, the breathing practices, it helps reduce a lot of stress, bring calmness to the mind, and quietens the mind, helps us get us in touch with the inner self. So, of course, in both these ways, we see that yoga helps us in our general well-being and comes to the aid of a person.
Absolutely. So we're getting a lot of lovely points about yoga as to how it contributes to well-being, both in health and disease. Radhika ji हमें समझा रही हैं कि we are not only talking of just asanas, even the breathing exercises is part of this, beautiful kind of, if I may say, not only an exercise, but a kind of religion, if I may say, that we get into, and then we are so much engrossed and enthralled by it that overall we improve our health. There are a lot of people greeting you from the audience already. They're wanting to know as to do we have institutes in Delhi, like you mentioned, as in Chennai. Other audience as well is thankful for being part of this very very valuable podcast. But would you like to answer this question that Mahesh Bhardwaj ji has asked कि दिल्ली में भी ऐसे कोई इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं जैसे आपने चेन्नई में बोला?
Yes, we have a lot of institutes in Delhi, and there is one Shivananda Ashram from where also I have learned and practiced. It is in Kailash Colony, if the person knows where it is, in South Delhi. So it's a wonderful place. It has its base ashram in Rishikesh, but they have a lot of centers all over India. So that is a beautiful place to do the practice. And then we also have the Yoga Institute, which is based out of Lonavala in Mumbai. So I think Dr. Hansa ji is the founder of that. And that is also a very good place. We have various others ones also, like Iyengar Yoga Institute and others in Delhi. And of course, not to forget the Moraji Desai Institute of Yoga in CP, Connaught Place. Yes.
So a lot of options, Maheshji, and I think Radhika Ji has mentioned all these options. You can look up which one is closer to your place and how you can reach out to them. So we were talking about yoga, we talked about asanas, and we talked about breathing. And how would you say does breath control really how important is that in yoga practice?
So, breath control and pranayam, which we say, the various pranayam practices, they are very beneficial, very important part of the yoga. So, when we say yoga, we are not just speaking of asanas like I mentioned before, and you reiterated that point. So this is like, whatever asanas we are doing it to so that we are able to sit down and do the pranayam. The asanas are there to open up the body, to open up the lungs, so that we can do the breathing practices more effectively. So in pranayam, you have different techniques, different kinds of pranayam. So for example, I'll give you one, two or three examples. Like there is a Nadi Shodhan pranayam, which is commonly known as Anulom Vilom, or in English we call it the alternate nostril breathing, wherein you inhale from one nostril, like the left nostril, then you exhale from the right, then you inhale from the right, and you exhale from the left. So when you do this, you are balancing both the nostrils. So both the nadis, which is the different channels in the body. In simple words, it's like energy pathways, the pathways through which the energy flows in the body. So we try to balance these by doing this pranayam. And when we do this, we are directly impacting the nervous system very positively. Then there is another pranayam, say the left nostril breathing, which is the Chandra Vedana, which is wherein you inhale from the left nostril and you exhale from the right. And you keep doing this, a couple of rounds of this. So, when you do this, you are activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which we know directly impacts the stress levels. It brings the stress levels down. So, again, a beautiful pranayam practice. And then we have another one, which is Shitali pranayam, which I would definitely like to mention because it's also known as the cooling breath pranayam. It helps to calm down and quieten the mind immediately. So if you do 12 to 24 rounds of this, you'll immediately see a difference in the state of your mind. And also because it dissipates a lot of heat from the body. So we can see that sometimes people have ulcers in the body, in the stomach. So with Sheetali, it helps to bring these ulcers down, or maybe even cure them if it's done consistently and proper under proper guidance. So very beneficial pranayam. We also have very common, it's not really a pranayam, it comes under a kriya. It's called Kapalabhati, so which is very widely used, very popular. I'm sure the audience is very in touch with this pranayam. So that is also very beneficial. It is a very energizing kind of practice, immediately energizes the mind and the body. It also brings in heat to the body. And also, it helps to remove a lot of these small cysts, you can say, or knots in the body, which is in Hindi, we call it gant. So, in different parts, if you have these, which are benign, so it can help reduce these, even eradicate them. I've seen these instances where it's happened. So, along with other things, of course, it's not just that you do this and don't do anything else. You have to look at your diet, other things. But yeah, everything comes together and it's very, very beneficial. But I would like to also add a note of caution that when you do these practices, you have to do them under proper guidance, learn them properly and do them, because they can also be counter indicative. Like if you have high blood pressure and you start doing Kapalabhati, then it can be very, very harmful. It can even lead to a stroke. This is not to scare the audience, but to let them know that they should have the proper knowledge before undertaking these practices.
I think thank you for that caution as well. And as we can hear from Ms. Radhika, we're learning that yoga is indeed a science. It's just not learning one or two things. It's just not copying something that somebody else is doing, but really going, through a proper training process under proper guidance. I think you can really make good benefit out of it. Ms. Radhika herself has been a teacher. She's conducted sessions for over 200 people together doing yoga sessions. So I think we are really, really fortunate to have her here today. And you talked about stress initially, how in well being, stress is also something which is very common in today's life. So, what would you say how, yoga really helps to curb that stress? Because stress is a very important factor. Also, deliberating on obesity, stress leads on to obesity. So, leads on
Yes.
to a lot of, wrong eating habits and a lot of, ways in which it can contribute to obesity, from bad diets to poor exercise to a lot.
Yeah.
So how does yoga help to reduce stress?
Yeah. So, like you rightly said, yoga leads to a lot of, the stress leads to a lot of obesity issues also. And it's like a cycle. Like you, when you have obesity issues, you tend to binge eat and eat the wrong kinds of food. Then there is also like you don't get proper sleep. There could be sleep issues, and they could also be a sedentary lifestyle where you are not exercising, not moving much. So when you do yoga, in one aspect it's very very good because it develops a lot of self awareness. So when you have that mindfulness and awareness with you, you carry it in your daily life after doing the practice. And this is a given, this is bound to happen. So when you do that, then you can counteract these negative habitual tendencies. For example, you won't be doing binge eating. You will have that awareness that will counter that binge eating, and you will be eating the right kind of foods. You won't crave the wrong kinds of foods. I've seen this from my own experience. Like, when I do the practice very consistently, I don't crave these junk foods and these sugary foods, or these tamasic kind of foods. I don't crave these. So I would say that this is very beneficial in counteracting obesity, the stress linked with the obesity. And when you do the pranayam practices, the breathing practices, it brings down the stress levels, like we spoke before. So very effective in reducing the stress, the cortisol levels, and calming down the mind, bringing the mind to a quieter space.
Thank you. And I can see in the chat box again, our audience is really thanking you for all, the precautions also that you share. I think that's a very important takeaway from today's podcast. But you're also being welcomed, and greetings from Dr. Shashi Khare and Ms.
Thank
Swapna
you.
Jain, who are welcoming you to the show today. I think when we talk of obesity, even in my clinical practice here at CMC Vellore, it's often a lot of talk about doing it consistently, doing it regularly, even if it's for any other endocrine disorder, to take the medicines on time, to make it like a habit that you have to, what you really have to. So, what would you say about consistency when we talk of yoga, and especially in the field of obesity? How important is consistency?
It's absolutely very, very essential because, like in every field, to be successful at something, to achieve your goals, you need to do it consistently. So, yoga is no different. You have to do the practice consistently every single day. If not 7 days a week, definitely 6 days a week. You have to do it. There's no way around it. Otherwise, we cannot see the results, the benefits. So when you do it, you will see the results, and it helps. It will definitely help to counter obesity if you're doing it daily. The practice, the different intense practices of yoga. There are different kinds of practices which you can do, incorporate. But if you don't do it, then you will get demotivated, and you won't see the results, and then you might just give up the practice altogether. So you have to have that willpower in you to do it regularly, and then only you can see the benefit, and then you will be motivated further to do the practice more, and of course reduce the weight. And it's not just weight, I would say. It's like, to overall your fitness. We see that some people who might look overweight, but they might be more fitter than people who are thin. It's a reality. It doesn't mean to say that we should not lose weight or people, not to disregard that part. But yeah, we have to create a sensible thing here. But,
Agree.
yeah.
Completely agree. And I think a lot of takeaways again here. We're talking about consistency is something which is important. The message here was at least 6 days a week, if not 7 days. Let's talk about some things. With all the social media hype that we have, and everything is now social media driven. In my practice, people first go to social media, find out their diagnosis, and then they have 100 questions which are totally wrongly portrayed in social media, and we as professionals have to debunk that. What would you say? What are the common misconceptions about yoga and weight loss? What comes to your mind with these misconceptions?
Yeah, so one thing is that people think that they'll just do the practice of yoga and then suddenly they will lose weight. No, you can't immediately lose weight like this. There are various factors. If you're eating a very bad diet, for example, very unhealthy diet, very fat diet, rich in fat foods, and on the other hand, you're doing yoga practice and you're thinking this will help you, lose the weight. It is not bound to happen. Everything comes together. Then only you can, have your goals met. So, yes, sorry, can you repeat the question once again? Because
Yeah,
I've
so I was
lost
talking
track.
about what are the misconceptions that people
Misconception.
have. Yeah,
So also with again the consistency part is there, which people have to think that they will do the practice 1 or 2 days a week and they will be able to lose the weight, which doesn't really happen. And then there is also that sometimes have different kind of health issues. Like again, I'll stress on high blood pressure. It's very common disease nowadays. So and then they somebody who's obese and has high blood pressure and they feel that they will do certain practices of yoga and lose weight. Again, you have to be careful, because for example we have a practice like it's like double leg raises, wherein we lift both the legs up and down, and we do this practice a couple of times. But if you have high blood pressure, you cannot do this practice because again it's going to harm the body. So you have to be very realistic. And people have come up to me and said that we have weight on the belly and we want to lose weight there. And now this is a very good practice for that. So, but we cannot do this. So we have to combine other things and do it, like a brisk walk and maybe look at the diet and other things. So, all these kind of things are there. So these are the common misconceptions, I guess.
agree. And again, now there are questions from the audience, and they're asking also, with obesity, we sometimes get kidney disease. So, are there specific asanas for each kind of a disease? Like, for example, would you say, is there a specific yoga for somebody who has a kidney problem?
Yes, you have, matlab, it cannot be ki 100% it will go away, which is sad reality, but definitely it will help. So there is something called Dhanurasana, which is like the bow pose. So you lie down on the abdomen and then you hold the ankles and you lift up the body, your thighs and the upper body also. So that is a very beneficial posture for kidneys. It is very useful in that, one of the very effective ones, I would say. And the other practices also along with this will definitely help, the other asanas. I wouldn't say that one specific asana will counteract a specific disease. It doesn't work like that. It may help more than the other asanas. But yes, the broadly, if you look at all the asanas, it will be very beneficial. But for kidneys, if you say, I would say Dhanurasana would be beneficial.
Lovely. I think there's so much of enthusiasm with all our listeners here, and I think 30 minutes is just too short. Nevertheless, I would not let you leave right now. I would take possibly another two questions before we leave. And, there is always this concept where we are in a show today which is labeled as Barrow Buddy, which means that, have a buddy to, help you lose weight. So if there are more people together, you tend to be more successful in achieving your goal here. So what would you say about doing yoga as a community, doing yoga in groups? Is that something better, or when you teach yoga to individual people as a one-to-one class and you're fully focusing on them? Is that better? For a beginner, what would you suggest?
So it varies from person to person. For a beginner, maybe a group practice might be better. But if it's a beginner with some health conditions, some health issues, then one-on-one would definitely be better because then those issues can be targeted. Like I teach a lot of one-on-one classes. I also have taught a lot of group classes, but yes, one-on-one is my primary focus at the moment. So but yeah, if it's a healthy individual, there are no health issues, major health issues, then definitely a group class would be very beneficial. And people who have obesity and other kind of issues, since we are speaking on the topic of obesity, then definitely a group, would be very beneficial. A community of people who are doing the practice together, because people can tend to feel very demotivated at times, very lazy at times, and there's also a lot of stress, and they might not want to do the practice. Then their peers can help them, by showing them their own discipline, and then these people can get motivated to do the practice. And also when you look at other people and see they are benefiting, their health has benefited, or they are in a calmer state of mind, they are not too hyper vigilant, then you also want to achieve that state. It's a human nature, we try to copy others. So I feel that a community would definitely come to an aid in these kind of situations.
Absolutely, and I would agree with that. It is what Ms. Radhika is telling us. It's person-centered. Depending on an individual, the right approach would be decided based on that. But then, yes, even in clinical practice, when I have a bunch of patients of the same disease together, and what if one of my patients stands up and says, "Look, doctor, I've done this, and this is how well I've achieved," the impact that statement would have on all the other patients would be much, much more than when I, as doctors, just telling from scientific background, but some one of them own who's doing it successfully, I think makes a huge difference. But thank you for that answer. And I think we are just hitting at the end of the hour, and maybe just one last question. What would be your final advice that you'd like to give to all our listeners who joined us today to listen to you about yoga and obesity? What would be your final words, Ms. Radhika?
Very simple, that do the practice. It's very essential to do the practice and see the results for yourself.
Right.
And I can vouch for it from whatever I've learned, from whatever I've seen, experienced with people, with my students, that if you do the practice with Shraddha, with faith, it is bound to have an effect. And definitely you'll achieve your goals, whether it is of losing weight or any other fitness goals you have in mind. Definitely yoga will come to an aid.
Lovely. And I think that comes to an end of this session. A very clear message: do it and see it for yourself. And Ms. Radhika is there to vouch for the results. If you really do it the right way, under the right teacher, I think we can definitely learn a lot. So thank you so much, Ms. Radhika, for coming on to this
Thank
show.
you.
I know it was very brief, but then you really gave us a lot of insights. We talk of a lot of science, but I think there's a lot of other science and disciplines that are unexplored, especially when we are handling a pandemic or a huge burden of problem like obesity. I think we need to join hands together from the medical science, all the yoga science, the nutrition, the exercise, all of it needs to come together, because then only we can handle this huge pandemic. But thank you so much. And can we have a certificate for Ms. Radhika today? Thank you as a distinguished speaker. And with this, I think we come to an end of today's session. We'll be back for the next Barrow Buddies session next Wednesday. But till then, take care of yourself. Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.